Welcome, true believers. It is I, Shane. I'm here to give you another Loki episode review and recap. Today's episode is called Journey into Mystery. Boy, oh boy. I'm gonna get into that in 1 second. But first things first, we got our green glasses. We got a Thor shirt on. We got stuff in the back. I'm gonna have to ask you to please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out. We got to my 100 subscriber goal, and I'm trying to go all the way to the moon because I enjoy doing this. This is great, and please stay with me. Now, this episode was 50 minutes, 50 minutes perfectly, but as we all know, credits and all that, so it was probably about 45 to 46 minutes. It was a lengthy episode, full of really good stuff too. And I got to tell you, I'm gonna try my best to not make this long, but I got details for you guys. I got. Not only do I have notes right here, I got notes right here, guys. That's the shows that have a lot of talking and depth and stuff like that. That those things go the longest, as opposed to Captain America and the Winter Soldier, where it's should I say Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where there's mostly fighting and you should really see it for yourself. And all I can do is give you highlights of that. But let's talk about Journey into Mystery. What I love about these shows, a lot of times their titles are references to literally other things in the Marvel universe or just Marvel period. Journey into Mystery was I think it was 2 months later with that issue because as we all know, in the original comic books, literally in the 40s and 50s, their line was called Journey into Mysteries, Tales to Astonish. Thor and Loki first appeared in Journey into Mystery. So obviously this is a shout out to that. So if you remember last time, folks died. They got rid of Mobius. They got rid of Loki. And Sylvie's just left there trying to figure out what the heck is going on with Renslayer at the tip of her pruning stick. So, let me scroll past that a little bit. So now we get a nice little image of like the TVA, like the cinematography for this opening scene was really good. You have that upside down view. You go through the TVA, you go through those weird double doors. We get that cool Loki music, the dum 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 dum, and we are instantly back in that weird hellscape that Loki was sent into, and where he sees four other Lokis, which includes an alligator. Um, some of the places, if it looks familiar to you, it is familiar. A lot of it is a combination of looks like a combination of Doctor Strange, places we've seen Doctor Strange, places we've seen Avengers, and actually one building looks like a building I saw in Tobey Maguire's Spider Man. Strangely enough, but maybe that's just me thinking. Um, there was a building that did not have Stark's name on it. It actually had the name Qeng. That's Quang. Quang sounds like Kang, and that's not coincidental. In 2015, Tony Stark had sold his company to a Mr. Quang, who happened to be a variant of Kang, who was stuck in the 21st century and was a entrepreneur businessman. Yeah, it's deep. So we're still going through, and we see that massive thunderstorm on the horizon, down train cars, and Loki's asking, "Where am I, and who are you guys?" Classic Loki, as we saw in the credits, says, "This is the void. That thing is Iolith, and we're gonna be his lunch. So let's go." Uh, Loki and others are running, and the thundercloud is taking shape. Like its head, it was hard for me to describe at first, but its head resembles that of a wolf. Now, who or what is Iolith? Iolith in the comics is called Iolith the Usurper. I will try to make this more in focus for you. Yeah, he looks way better in the MCU than he does in the comics. And this guy appeared in 1990 against the Avengers. Just some quick history for you. Iolith the Usurper. This is one of the few beings that's found a way to take himself out of the constraints of time. So his kingdom is 3 times larger than that of Kang. I'm talking he reaches from the end, almost the end of time, all the way into 2000 BC. That is what his kingdom is. And if you look in one of the old comics, actually, you can probably pull this up on Marvel Wiki. You can see the different kingdoms where it's like the constitutional reality, the TVA's portion, Kang's portion, and of course, Isla's portion. Iris was only able to be defeated after the Avengers had to more or less revive Kang, and he gave them a Chrono Key. Chrono Key was actually Tempest, who is I won't say a lackey, but an agent of Immortus. And who is Immortus? Immortus is, of course, another version in time of Kang the Conqueror. And Immortus is one of the few beings that exists in every universe at the exact same time. What does that mean? It means if you see Tempest in an Ultimates comic book, you're gonna see him in the 616 comic book, and it's literally the same guy. Not a version of him, the same guy. And there's only two other beings that are like that. It is Living Tribunal, which I'm gonna get to them in a minute, and Miss America, who's gonna show up in the Multiverse of Madness. It's almost as if Marvel's universe is connected. On top of that, the Living Tribunal was actually killed in the comics by who did I tell you guys about a few episodes ago? The Beyonders. And this was an immensely powerful cosmic entity that was the omnipotent Marvel Universe itself. So Tempest was able to combat Annihilus for all eternity. They were just locked because Tempest was able to be as strong as he as an Annihilus because he is made of temporal energy. History lesson over. So while they are running from this cloud that looks like a giant wolf on the inside, Sylvie takes Renslayer's tempad, and she's asking who's behind TVA. Renslayer claims that she too is in the dark, and you know, uh, Renslayer literally wants to find out the same thing. For some reason, now they're actually in the judge's courtroom. They're not in that little area they were before. Uh, Sylvie wants to kill her now, and she's like, why don't they work together? She tells them that Loki isn't dead, and she's like, why should I even believe you? Well, she explains that that when they prune something from the timeline, they can't kill it. You can't get rid of all that energy at one time, so they move it. Where do they move it? Where it doesn't cause trouble? To literally the end of all time. And while the end of all time is constantly being written, which is the doctrine that the timekeepers had passed down to them, things cannot happen there. People can't die. And Renslayer, slowly saying that things are complicated, but Sylvie is not 100% buying it, which is smart of her because Renslayer, for lack of better words, is a bitch. Just that's the that's the thing. It's avoided every time everything is collided and crushed, and nothing comes back from there. You know, she says if she trusts her, she'll help her with everything. Sylvie even gives her the time pad back, which I'm 10 pad back, which I'm kind of like why, but whatever. We are quickly shown back to the void, where we pass over a pirate ship that could be a nod to Pirates of the Caribbean, or it could be a nod to pirate Deadpool. There's a spaceship. There are more things that are coming through this void, and it's like a temporal rift and a shift. As the Lokis are moving through, if you pay attention, you will see the Thanos copter. I am going to be throwing out Easter eggs that happened here. The Thanos copter was something that happened in the 80s where for some reason Marvel said, hey, what if we give Thanos this helicopter, which literally everybody made fun of. They were like, why does this immensely powerful being need a helicopter? It was quickly dropped, but maybe the TVA saw that too and said that's an abomination, got rid of it. Eh. So the Lokis are quickly moving. And also in this, I'm going to go through in the end some of the things that you are going to miss if you're just watching this. Uh, so hang tight. So Loki's a movie, and the alligator Loki is actually hauling ass. And their plan is to don't die. Loki says, not dying isn't really a plan, it's a demand of life. And suddenly there are blue chickens. I thought they were blue chickens. These things aren't chickens. They have balls, like floating ball on top of their head and have four legs. I'm going to assume that they are actually a thing in the MCU, but I didn't even want to look it up because that just, wow. Um, and we get some comical moments where Loki's having a fit. He's saying, I don't even find it strange that there's an alligator here. And he's shouting, he's wanting to know what's going on, and Kid Loki pulls a dagger out on him. Well, it's more of a long sword, but it's a dagger. and says, "Stop yelling, or Iolith is going to find them." Because behind him, you can see the storm crackling as if it's being alerted by Loki having a fit. It helps him get up, and they're explaining that all of them got there via the TVA. Iolith is a living maelstrom that devours all matter. Just everything is absorbed into it. Um, they send whole timelines there, and nothing makes it out because once something is sent through there, Iolith eats it. And each of the Lokis are taking turns saying this. Richard Grant's classic Loki, boastful Loki, the big bald black one with the hammer, Kid Loki, and Alligator Loki growls when classic Loki says, this is the shark tank and Iolith is a shark. And classic Loki can communicate with alligator Loki, saying there's no such thing as an alligator tank, and the metaphor sounds better as a shark. Okay. So apparently every Loki's overly sensitive, which is cute and hilarious at the same time. Um, our Loki, he is bugging out that the fact that an alligator is them, but he's not. He's not even surprised. What do Lokis do? He's asking why do they all still here? What do Lokis do? Lokis survive. That's what Lokis are good at. Even our Loki has said that. So they start laughing at Loki because he says, "Well, how come you guys just don't, let's get a temp pad and get out of here?" Oh yeah, because there's one of those laying around. Well, why don't you fight it? Because you can't touch it because it'll kill you. And they're saying, you know what, you can stay here if you want. We're leaving. Loki, of course, is going to go with him because why is he just going to stay out in the open? And he's wondering, why you guys listening to a boy? And Classic says, you need to mind your matters. This is his kingdom. And of course, Loki will play along and say, okay, Your Highness, what was your Nexus event? Kid Loki killed Thor. And you can see boastful Loki kind of happy about it. Classic Loki has been the stern dad, granddad looking figure. Kid Loki looks sad, and our Loki looks sad about that fact as well. Magic, not Magic Loki, Classic Loki, he has so many flourishes when he moves his hand for the magic. It just love it. Magic's open the hatch, they go in. It's a hodgepodge of things. There's even a throne of mix mash things. Look like someone took like the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus workshop, smashed it together. And one of the greatest eye catches, I will tell you right now, as we're going over the hill that they've gone inside of, we see Mjolnir. But what's next to Mjolnir in this capsule is Throg, or Frog Thor. He is trying to get to his hammer as he is stuck in this tube that said T365. I guess trying to say it's an experiment, but T365 is Thor issue 365, which is Throg made his appearance, I believe, 1986, 1987. Don't quote me on that. I wasn't around for that, but I do remember Throg very well. So, one of the cutest things is you see Alligator Loki just sliding down the hill. I love that. Back in TVA land, Renslayer is asking Miss Minutes to give her the files on the beginning of time, beginning of TVA, and Sylvie says that's not going to help. Since I survived in apocalypse events, why don't you just look towards the end of time where if nothing happens, you won't be alerted. And that's literally the only place that the person who's behind the TVA could hide. Renslayer is like, okay, cool. Technically, where they are now is a new timeline, which Sylvie brings that up. Um, Renslayer informs her that they cannot get past the void because, the Tempad cannot lock onto it because it is a thing that is constantly in flux. You can go behind, you can go to any time that's even in the future, but it has to have happened. You can't go beyond that point. And she's saying that trying to get through there is suicide. Sylvie says, all right, cool. Well, I'm just going to kill you because your usefulness has run out. And Miss Minutes says, well, hold on while we tell you about, the void spacecraft that's experimental. And they're looking through the files, and Renslayer and Sylvie, they shake hands. And Sylvie says, yeah, so what's going on with those files? Doesn't let go of her hand. And she says, oh, it's coming. They're coming any minute. And of course, it's a trap. The guards burst through the door. Miss Minutes goes wherever her cartoony ass goes. And Sylvie's over the side of the judge's bench. Renslayer, this whole entire time, has this look of she is legitimately rocked by knowing the timekeepers don't exist. But for whatever reason, she's keeping up this facade, right? She's telling the guard, the guards are slowly moving in, and she's trying to tell Sylvie to come on down. Saying, I'll put you in a comfortable time prison, a good memory. Do you have a good memory? I mean, you stole her when she was a child, but she looks at the time pad and she thinks, and we know she's thinking of our look, and she says, "I have one." Uh, just Renslayer is just a complete jackass. Anyway, Sylvie pops up from behind the desk, pops open the little pruning stick, and gets herself. And the guards are just kind of surprised, like, she pruned herself. She's like, well, save us the job of killing her ourselves, right? And she goes off. It's so weird to me that these guys don't even take the time to question any of this, but I have a word for what the TVA is later. Or at least for what Renslayer is later. So meanwhile, our Loki, I guess it's not a trio, it's a quattro, because Alligator Loki is there too. Them and our Loki are drinking a box of Roxy wine. Roxxon Corp has wine, I guess, in the future. And boastful Loki is saying he killed Iron Man and Captain America, and that's how he got the last Infinity Stones. And the Gator Loki makes a growl, and the Classic Loki saying, "Yeah, that growl means that you're a liar." And he's saying, "Well, you know what? At least in my reality, my Nexus event wasn't accidentally eating the wrong cat." Alligator Loki bites this dude, like hauls ass and bites him. And our Loki and Classic Loki, break them up. He goes back to his kiddie pool. It's really weird to watch someone pour wine into a gator's mouth, but I digress. Kid Loki says, "Loki, tell him your story," talking to Classic Loki. And no one wants to hear, but of course our Loki does. He's been wondering since, they're supposed to die when Thanos appears. Obviously, Classic Loki is older. Uh, Basically, what happened then? He says, "Didn't you try to stab him?" He's like, "No, I didn't." Uh, the I want to find exactly what he said. He said, "No offense, but Blaze pale in comparison to a Loki sorcery." And Boastful Loki says they're so cool. He's like, "Yeah, they're cool as they fall to the ground as you're getting your neck snapped." He's like, "No, he made an illusion so convincing, so in depth that Thanos fell for it and actually thought he killed Loki. But Loki had hid amongst the rubble and waited till everybody left. Excuse me. Which honestly, that was a theory of everyone's that, oh, Loki's not really dead. This is a trick. It's an illusion. The Loki we see actually dies. This is the one Loki that didn't, and as he had time to drift throughout the universe, he came to the conclusion that he was the one factor amongst everything. He was always causing chaos. Chaos would always follow him. So he decided to find a planet, had nobody on it, land there, and just live the rest of his days by himself. Uh, and when our Loki asked, "Well, how did they even find you?" He started to get lonely. He wondered if his brother missed him or if anybody missed him. Right? The moment he stepped foot off of that planet is when the TVA got him, which is interesting because if he just spent his time just hiding there and it didn't cause any events, I wonder if that was a timeline that honestly could. I wonder if Loki is actually a threat to whoever is running the TVA, and I will definitely get into what I mean by that later. So he calls them, we're just the gods of outcasts, which is actually a thing that Loki said in the 2019 Loki comic. It was a bunch of orphan children calling him himself the gods of outcasts. But yeah, it's pretty nice how they put in real words from the comics in there. Um, our Loki saying, "Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the TVA. Why? Because there's somebody there. There's something I need to do." And Kid Loki asks, "What makes you different?" I'm not different than any of you. We are all the same. You know, um, he says, "Have you all ever met a woman variant of ourselves?" And Classic, all of them say no. And Classic Loki goes, "Well, that sounds terrifying." He's like, "It is. which is hilarious. But what makes it great about her is that she doesn't want to take over TVA. She wants to get rid of it and be done with all of it. You know, Olive keeps them there. You guys are saying it's alive, it's a shark, and it's all this. If it's alive, we can kill it. I want to kill it, and then we can figure out how to get here. And he gives a rousing speech. All the Lokis laugh at him. I even think the alligator laughs too. He does this little look of like he's laughing. This alligator is all CG, mind you, really really good CG. They they really did. They did a number with themselves with the not just the staging, but all the special effects look really good, really really good. Anyway, Loki says this is a nightmare. He ends up calling them all, well, he doesn't say it's a nightmare. He ends up calling them all monsters as he climbs up. And once he opens up the hatch, he is confronted with someone that looks exactly like him, President Loki, which actually happened in the comic books. But everyone around him, and it's confirmed, they are all Lokis as well. We actually see the bearded Loki in one of Mobius's, when he was talking about what a Loki variant is. We actually see that Loki amongst all these other misfit looking Lokis. And he who's asked when asked, oh, so which one of us are you? He goes, this is a nightmare. But Sylvie wakes up in the void in a giant bird nest. But the bird nest isn't the issue. What happens after she's moving through this bus that the bird nest is in? Iolith is there. Iolith is attacking. Uh, I noticed that when it touched the bus, the color drained from it. So it looks like this thing drains energy, but it also drains living things to nothing. Just a spoiler earlier, it drains you to nothing. Um, for a brief moment, though, she does a wave of her hand and gets a glimpse of a vision of just it looks like a castle, but some mansion or castle somewhere. But she's running, she's booking it, and in the distance we see a pizza car, or maybe a car that has a little giant pizza on top, which is obviously a nod. It looks like the Pixar pizza car from Toy Story. I wouldn't doubt it if it actually was the pizza car. And the person in the car tells her to get in. And of course, who's gonna be? You guys know the driver is Mobius. And we get some nice clips from him saying, close the door. That cloud thing's still coming after us, and shouldn't get in strange cars of strangers. Which is just this is just all funny. It looks like the storm's catching up to them, but they are able to outrun this thing. We do get nice eye catches of the pyramids and the Sphinx of Egypt. So, oh, and the Golden Gate Bridge. So now we see President Loki and all the Lokis behind him that you've seen the scene in the trailers, and they're saying, "Yeah, I'm here to take all this over." And our Loki is standing to the side. No one's holding him. No one's capturing. He's just standing to the side, just watching this all play out. Um, Classic Loki blames on Loki. Says, "You bastards! You led the wolves to us. We prefer snakes over wolves." Kid Loki has one of the coldest lines, saying, "I eat wolves and snakes, and they both die the same." Boastful Loki apologizes, says, "I'm sorry, my liege. I betrayed you, but now I'm king." And President Loki, who he speaks deeper. We know when Loki is speaking deeply in thought. This guy speaks like that all the time. Um, but yeah, our President Loki says about that. The deal was apparently he finds them the shelter and he would give them the armies. Which I'm like, why would a Loki believe that? Is boastful Loki the dumb Loki? Possibly. And we do get some eye catches of a pinball machine and Polybius. If you don't know what Polybius is, look it up. It is a rumored game from the 80s that apparently hypnotized children and was hypnotizing the people who were using it. Maybe it actually did that in a timeline and the TVA got rid of it, and that's why no one can remember it. It was also a really good Angry Video Game Nerd episode. Look up Polybius. Good Halloween episode. Anyway, President Loki is also wondering why the hell is an alligator here. And Classic and Kid Loki saying he's a Loki. This guy is a Loki. Our Loki is rubbing his head because really the whole betrayal thing again, it's getting boring even for Loki. So everyone starts to fight after Alligator Loki jumps up and bites off the hand of President Loki, which is sort of a throwback to Thor: The Dark World, where we thought that Loki had cut off Thor's arm. Well, his hand gets bitten off, he gets a little blood squirt, and it takes him a while to just go ah. Then the fighting ensues. Like everyone fights everybody because the band of Loki's behind President Loki. They're trying to betray him as well. So we're all about just our Loki's just tiptoeing through all of this, and we get classic Loki making an illusion of himself, Alligator Kid, and our Loki joining the fray. The illusion is actually so powerful that it looks like it makes physical contact with them. Of course, they escape, and classic Loki says we lie and we cheat and we cut the throats of everyone. You know, he's saying we're broken and we can't change. And Kid Loki makes the point saying even when we try to change, we are sentenced to death here. And Loki says that's why he wants to get back. Nothing can change till the TVA is stopped. And Sylvie is the only person he trusts, flat out. And that's enough for Kid Loki. So what they're gonna do, they're gonna help get him close to Iolith, but that's it because they don't want to die. And Mobius is we cut back to our buddies Mobius and Sylvie. Mobius is obviously upset. He thought they were good guys, but Sylvie makes the excellent point. Annihilating alternate realities and orphaning little girls, and you were the good guys. But Mobius said, "Well, when you think that the ends justify the means, you're willing to do almost everything." And she say, "Hey, you did some annihilating too," and she's like, "I did what I had to do to survive. You guys are the ones that caused that." And you know what? Mobius owns up and says, "You know what? I'm really sorry. I'm sorry for hunting you down like that." And she wonders, she wonders about the storm. She believes that it can lead them to who is ultimately behind the TVA, because it appears that the thing is like a guard dog, just protecting whatever area that person is in. So she's saying we need to turn around and go back towards the storm. Morbius is all in, so they're going back towards the storm. And there's a hula girl on the dashboard of this. And the important thing to note about this, I don't really care about Agents of Shield. I don't think it's even in universe any of the MCU, to be completely honest, because Kevin Feige does not like the writers of that show, so I'm pretty sure it doesn't count. But maybe Ghost Rider counts. I hope Ghost Rider counts. But the hula girl dancer was not only just seen in that show, she was also seen in WandaVision, the truck that Darcy and Vision are riding in to get to Wanda, has the exact same hula girl in it. Makes you wonder. And yes, I remember crap like that. Anyway, um, our band of Lokis, they are coming upon this hill. You see the storm that is Aboleth in the background, and classic Loki saying, so where you're playing, he's like, I can get around it, I found a way to stab it in his heart. And he's like, yeah, the plan's complicated because complicated doesn't mean it's bad. And Kid Loki points out that doesn't mean that it's good either. We get a nice little funny growl from Alligator Loki. And he's saying, see, he agrees with me. No, he's praying. It's what classic Loki says. But suddenly, so what Aboleth, not Aboleth, but Iolith is attracted to is the rifts that appear within that time. And that's when he makes his move. He basically, it's a dinner bell for him and he goes to eat. Well, a giant ship falls down. The ship that fell down, I had to write this in here, was the USS, I want to say Edith or Iolith. I can't remember the name of that ship. But it's the ship that's connected to the Philadelphia experiment. What is that? That is a mystery in time where it was said that they were able to make an entire ship disappear. Well, apparently, maybe that actually worked, and the TVA went ahead and just removed that as well. But it has a whole crew on it, and Iolith is coming in to get them. We even see the nice giant head of Iolith within the storm. It attacks, it gets one guy, and just, again, he is nothing. He is turned to bone and ash. And they're firing on it. They can't do anything. And our Loki's like, okay, I need to think about this a little bit more. But in the background, a car's coming in. And while Loki's pondering, is this a good thing The others say, well, useless marauders, but we don't know. And of course, our Loki sees Sylvie gets out the car. He knows it's Sylvie. He runs towards him. Is he being brave or stupid? Classic Loki is just a highlight of this episode by far. Anywho, probably because he is our Loki, just older. I like that. Richard Grant kind of reminds me of um, what is his name? He reminds me of Peter Capaldi. I get big Peter Capaldi vibes from him. I really hope I see Peter Capaldi in the Marvel universe. He would be a good thinker, or not the thinker, the guy with the giant. I think it's the thinker, right? Not the thinker, the leader. He would be a great leader. I can see that. I can see that perfectly. I digress. Loki runs to Sylvie. I'm kind of surprised he didn't hug her. He sees Mobius. Again, surprised he didn't hug both of them instantly. Um, and Mobius says, "Man, you can't throw a rock in this place without hitting a Loki." And he's saying, we're trying to figure out how to kill this thing. And he convinces her not to attack the other Lokis. And she's like, "That was your whole plan the whole time. You were going to kill it." And this this moment is just instantly funny because it shows that she is a step ahead of Loki, and she's superior because her thinking is way outside of his own. And he's saying, "Okay, well, what's your plan? The person who we're after is in the beyond the void of time. That thing is stopping people from getting there. So let's use it to get there." When she got close to it and had semi enchanted it, she saw a vision of where that person is. So she figured, hey, if I can fully enchant this thing, I'll do it. She's like, I'm gonna enchant it. It's like, what? I'm going to enchant it. Puts her foot down. And Moby's like, yeah, she's pretty confident in this. Okay then. Back at the TVA, here comes Renslayer and tells the other guards to leave them alone. I wonder who they are. They is Agent B-15, who is trapped in a cell. And I guess they have cells within the rooms that they interrogate people to. She's wondering why she's in there. And she's saying, well, you're disloyal to TVA. She's like, disloyal to who? You were in that chamber like I was and saw the timekeepers were fake. Why are you towing the line? And this dumbass is saying, well, until we figure out who's actually behind TVA, everything will be business as usual. And B-15 is like, you want to know who's behind it too. And she's imploring B-15 to tell everything she knows about Sylvie. And she's like, what drives her? She's like, what drives her is revenge. You simply just want to find out who's behind this. She needs to find out who's behind this. You're what you're doing isn't protecting TVA. Renslayer's garbage, y'all. And actually, one of the things that I noticed about this show, well, you got representation. You got black women, whether you're African American or straight from Africa. And why you got a bald black Loki? Why do all the black characters in this show suck? Like the young TVA agent, her dumbass got pruned because she couldn't keep her mouth shut. B-15 was an asshole the entire time until her eyes were opened up. And Renslayer's shit. And boastful Loki is a betrayer. Just can you give me someone a little bit better that's black, please? Let B-15 be better or something. Please let it be a major character. Let us find out a real name for her. Anyway, she calls, and she, being Renslayer, calls Miss Minutes, wants everything from the beginning of time. And, while Miss Minutes says that's a hefty order about beginning of time and the beginning of TVA, she's like, the person who created TVA, they're in danger. We got to protect them. She is our villain, everybody. That is our villain for this series. She, Renslayer, who is a consort of Kang, so we already know she's trash. It's not confirmed in here, but we already know she's trash. Uh, she's literally a Nazi. She's a time Nazi. You're towing the line of something that you know is a lie. Word? Really? Alright. So anyway, we're going back to our group. Thing to note, and I instantly caught this eye catch. You see the license plate on a Missouri car that's in the void, and it's green one. It's for where's my guy here? I wrote this down, guys. I'm so sorry. It's for Mark Greenwald. Literally, the comic book writer and artist who co-created Iolith. Yeah, and he's actually the reference used for Mobius, not just in the comics but in the show. His likeliness is what they based Mobius around. Fun fact. So, Mobius says he doesn't remember an alligator. I'm guessing that the alligator, excuse me, I'm guessing the alligator might have been one of the ones he brought in, maybe. But he says, are you sure he's a Loki? Because he's an alligator, and classic like the guy, he's green. That counts. Well, unless he's pretending to be a Loki, which is actually a really Loki thing. But anyway, kid Loki's like, so Mobius, why? What's the point of you going back? Why are you trying? What are you gonna do if you guys can get back? Well, you're gonna let the people know. And classic Loki saying, so you're willing to betray the one thing you had dedicated your whole life to, and like, it's never too late to change. Obviously, and Mobius is a good example of if you're a person that really knows you should probably change if the things you're doing is wrong, and if the things you're in league with are wrong. Don't hold on to the convention because I've came so far. I got to keep doing bad. Just turn it all around. Anyway, Loki and Sylvie are having a touching moment. He conjures up a blanket for himself because it's cold, and she says her outfit is very uncomfortable. Which, fun fact, uh, the costume designers, she was nursing during the filming of this because she just had a baby, and it made it possible for her to actually nurse through the outfit with zippers and all that. Pretty interesting. Just fun fact. Anyway, um, Mobius isn't bad, which is great. She lets him know, hey, Mobius actually really cares about you. And they talk about the Nexus event that they both had with the handhold. And of course, they're awkward teens. They've never had anyone they were close to. She's never had anyone. He's never had anyone. Um, their big goal. We're gonna take down the TVA. That's the whole big thing. He says it's kind of like you're saving the universe. She's like, I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, it is like that. He, conjures the blanket around her. We get a little joke about it being way too thin and being a tablecloth, but she says thank you. It's his pleasure, but she also wants to know in the final moments how I know you won't betray me, because Loki has done this before. He's done this to Thor twice, and he's done it to Thanos. Who cares about Thanos, right? Uh, and he's saying, I know who I am. I betrayed everybody I ever loved, my father, my brother, my people, and I'm not that person anymore, and I'm not going to let you down. I really hope he does not live to regret that. So, once they take out a TVA, she's like, hey, there could be a timeline for you to rule. And he's like, yeah, that would be nice. We get the coy smiles, which means Loki doesn't want that anymore. Period. She doesn't know what she wants to do after this, and he said maybe we can figure it out together. So I'm loving this romance here. This is way better than Natasha and Hulk, and it seems way more organic. Yeah, I said it. Anyway, these weird four-legged ball head chicken things are running around because Iolith is appearing. Uh, this purple, the storm with the purple lightning is there. They're all ready to enact their plan. She being Sylvie, gave Mobius the Tempad so he can go back. So her plan is to link to it to figure out where the person is. And Loki says, if you're gonna go, I'm gonna go. And uh, Mobius is gonna be the one to head back, give his regards to Renslayer. He's gonna go and just say, tell the truth and figure this whole thing out. Hope he doesn't actually die. Anywho, Kid Loki apparates that same longsword, uh, gives it to our Loki. He says, you're gonna need this. Be careful. He makes a nice little holster. Instead of a gun holster, it's a short sword holster for his back. They're offering the other three Lokis, Alligator, Kid, Classic, to be able to save them too. But this is their home. They're gonna stay there. So the giant wolf head appears. Mobius is gone. The others leave. Classic Loki takes another look back at what's coming. So they were gonna try to wait for something to come out and branch off for it to come and eat. It's taking too long, so our Loki's gonna be a distraction. And they silently agree. She shakes her head, but he nods. He lights the sword on fire, which is a throwback to Norse mythology. It's said that Loki has had descriptions of him having a burning sword or a burning dagger. I believe the sword's called Leviathan. Don't quote me on how to actually say that. Anywho, uh, he's trying to distract it, but Sylvie is trying to enchant it, and it pays more attention to her than him. So he's trying to cut it off at the pass. Then suddenly, Asgard appears to the monster's right, and we have our man, classic Loki, using his magic to conjure up Asgard, palace and all. Amazing, amazing special effects, amazingly done. And Sylvie's asking, what's he doing? How is he doing all that? And Loki says, apparently we're stronger than we realize, which is very much true. It's pretty much highlighted even in the Hulk versus movies, even in the Avengers movie when Captain America fights Loki. You're Asgardian, you're stronger than you think, and at the same time, they are powerful magicians or sorcerers or wizards, whatever interchangeable name you want. So he's telling them to go and do your thing. And she says, all right, we're going to enchant this thing together. He's like, well, I don't know how to do it. Yeah, you pretty much do. We're the same person. They hold hands. This is another holding hands moment, and they catch a piece of the wisp of the cloud. This giant thing is biting off the fake buildings that kind of apparate away, and it's slowly paying attention to this is all fake. And classic Loki, he's old. He's tiring out from making the giant illusion of the home that he wished he could have returned to, even though it was technically destroyed in Ragnarok. I digress. He's on the ground. It's making a beeline towards him. And something that I didn't mention earlier, classic Loki had mentioned the glorious purpose line again, where all of them were supposed to have one, but he shouts out glorious purpose as he is full on distracting this thing. It kills him in like one go. We just see the helmet. There's no body left. So the I'm really sad about him dying. I actually really like that character. But I digress. Um, they're working hard to enchant it. It's coming towards them, and when they finally do, the whole cloud, the whole innards, it goes from purplish red to green. She tells him open his eyes. He opens his eyes, and peeking through this cloud beast is a large, I don't want to say citadel, but a large castle-like structure. That is where they need to go, and that is where the episode ends as they walk through there hand in hand. I'm gonna go out on a limb. First of all, this episode was fantastic. I don't know if I would say it wasn't. I don't know if I can say it was better than last episode because last episode had those cool ass reveals. But this was a really great episode. I'm gonna say that place, guys, it has to be Kang, right? I have another theory. So I mentioned Living Tribunal, which fun fact, if you take time and watch this again, you can see the Living Tribunal's stone statue head of it. This guy here, you see that statue four face head in the background of there. Living Tribunal, like I said, can only be killed by the Beyonder, and him having ties to Tempest, both being beings that are exist in everything at the same time. Here's the funniest thing of all: Tempest is an agent of Immortus. Immortus is a part of Kang. They are probably going towards Immortus, who may or may not be a version of Loki. Hell, Kang might also be a version of Loki that was plucked out of the timeline. My entire theory, because you gotta remember, Kevin Feige likes to keep things very simple. My theory is that Kang is crafting the timeline to be in a way that not only can he rule over all of time, he can stop anyone that has a chance of getting in the way of that. Allowing the Avengers to beat Thanos, it solves the Thanos problem. Stopping Loki, I think Loki is a key pivotal character that can stop his plans. Now, Kevin Feige claimed that the shows aren't really all that important. Loki's going to show up in the multiverse of madness because multiple variants and timelines, that's a multiverse thing. Period. It's almost confirmed. They also want to do a second and third season. There's no way this show isn't tied to it. Just like Wanda's in there, I have a feeling that at the at the end of Spider-Man or at the end of Doctor Strange, we will have a Loki teaser where he needs to get to his brother and inform his brother of Kang coming. Because that's how we do, right? We had the announcement of Thanos. Then we go some time building up characters. We got to remind you that Thanos is coming. Loki's going to be the one to say, "Hey, this guy's coming. You're going to have to be ready." And with classic Loki being dead, I'm pretty sure Loki's not going to let Kid Loki just stay in the void alone. He'll drop him off in the our timeline, and he could become a young Avenger, flat out. Um, we also saw a giant statue of Yellow Jacket's helmet. So either when Scott busted up his suit, either he shrunk so hard he went through the quantum verse and ended up at the end of time, or that's just a thing that got taken. Maybe he wasn't supposed to grow big and they took him out of there. Who knows? Is there anything else I'm missing? I already told you about Quang. Told you about Thanos Copter. Told you about Polybius. Kid Loki was drinking Ecto Cooler. If you know, you know. Ecto Cooler. They need to bring Ecto Cooler back. Um, yeah, and that is we was it you see a what's the thing called? You see a helicarrier in the back. They're always gonna show helicarriers in these shows. Um, there's really nothing. Yeah, there's really nothing else. So, I don't know. Great episode. Please, I tried my best to make this short, but I told you guys I had to give you a lot of detail on what's going on here. Um, and the name of the CEO from Quang Industries was actually named Mr. Griffin. So, if you hear that name, pay attention to it. Uh, anyway, guys, let me know what you thought of the episode down below. Please, as always, remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, be notified of more videos like this. We got one more episode. I can't wait to see what happens because obviously Renslayer one that told that line is gonna put her in leagues with Kang, and I hope someone kills her. I'm gonna be mad if Sylvie or Mobius dies. I'm gonna be mad if our Loki dies. You guys want to have Loki season 2 and 3? He better not die. Period. Let someone have a good romance in this damn universe. Uh, as always, remember to share the video, show others what a great time we're having. You can watch me or listen to me. It's either or I'm cool with. As always, thank you for showing up. I really appreciate you. Be good, be blessed. Wash your hands. Still bring a mask with you. Wear a mask. You know, it's dangerous out there. Be good to yourself as well as be good to others. Don't be a jerk. And I will definitely see you next time.